I leaned forward to get a better look. It almost felt like the stranger was intentionally trying to avoid being seen.
He's playing
I just
peekaboo.
looked straight ahead and minded my own business.
Don't you play peekaboo with me, boy? I think as I go through life, I'm just scared of everything. Like public transit. I know that sounds weird, but y'all, I grew up in a small town. I drive a car everywhere, or a truck or whatever. I've always had my own vehicles, and the times that I did have to travel has only been in the recent years, except for the occasional trainings and stuff for jobs that I used to have. But now everybody takes an Uber, right? I've never really had to take public transit, except for a couple times. And all of those times were unnerving. So if you ever watch any movies, I mean, subways are what nightmares are made of, right? There's a bunch of different people from walks of life, a bunch of people that look like they're homeless or in situations that make them pretty desperate, and they're just a little bit more unpredictable than your average human being. And every time I've ever been in any kind of public transit, there's this one guy or one gal that's completely weird. Like the last time I rode public transit that I can remember, there was a weird guy just like singing out loud with headphones on, like he was in his own world. And I'm not just talking about kind of jamming because he was listening to the good song. This dude was far out, you know what I mean? He was either on drugs or kind of batshit crazy. So I shy away from that type of environment. Now I'm not talking about planes, because planes seem like it's a little bit more of a curated environment. I don't know, it's supervised. Like, you know, you can't get into an airport in a bad state, you know, because there's security clearances and stuff like that. So the guy with the headphones that was acting out of his mind, he probably would have got turned around at security, you know what I mean? So when I saw the video today by Animated Horror Flicks about a subway horror story, I said we definitely gonna have to react to that. Listen, go over to their channel, click subscribe, click the notification bell, and if you like reaction videos like this, make sure to click subscribe on this channel as well. Let's get into the video. Oh, it already looks creepy.
So this is a creepy story that I don't usually talk about.
Okay.
It happened to me quite a while ago, so I probably won't remember all of the details, but I will never forget the strange experience that took place at a nearby subway station, which drove a sinister wedge between me, my friends, and my family.
Wow.
I was around 22 years of age at the time, and I had just started taking music lessons in the evenings.
Okay.
I was at a stage where I was still trying to figure things out and get used to life in the big city.
I don't know nothing about life in the big city, but I definitely remember being at that stage. Now, I wasn't in my 20s when I went through that stage. I was a little bit younger than that. Like right after high school, you know? And, oh gosh, the grief that I put my parents through, man. If they knew everything that I ever did, they'd probably be pretty disappointed at me. But thankfully, if they're watching this, thankfully with their teachings, I was able to rise above some of the more questionable times in my life and become the human that I am today. And I'm very thankful for that. But it's a tough time in everyone's life, you know?
I remember that the lessons finished a lot later than usual that day for some reason, so it was already well past 11 at night by the time I got to the subway, after grabbing a bite to eat, which meant that the circulation of trains was few and far between. As I anxiously waited for the signature sound of a distant train, I observed the platform and was surprised to see how abandoned it was. I had taken the subway at unsocial hours before, but I had never seen it as empty as it was that night.
In a big city? No.
It was very quiet and there was no one else around. At least that's what I thought, until I noticed someone standing behind one of the columns near the edge of the platform. I leaned forward to get a better look. It almost felt like the stranger was intentionally trying to avoid being seen.
He's playing
I just
peekaboo.
looked straight ahead and minded my own business.
Don't you play peekaboo with me, boy?
The silence didn't last long after that. Suddenly, I could hear the sound of someone whistling. It appeared to come from all directions, and there was something about it that made me feel uneasy, but luckily, it was soon overshadowed by the sound of a train fast approaching. As I prepared to embark on the train, I was surprised to see a well-dressed man step out from behind a column and walk to the edge of the platform. I felt relieved to see that it wasn't some thug or potential troublemaker.
Right.
Yet still, something was strangely off about him, and
the way that people look will influence the way that you feel about them, whether you like it or not. It happens. Psychologically, it happens to all of us. Kind of like the way you would expect a homeless person to look, like a perceived image of a homeless person versus a person that's dressed for business, you know, in business attire or something like that. You automatically assume, man, they look for work. Think about it like this, okay? Think about your stereotypical construction worker with a hard hat and without a hard hat after work. Big difference, right? One of them looks like they're about to lift up a column or a big metal beam, and the other one looks like they're about to lift up a beer. So it's a big difference the way that this can be perceived. Also, right here, it looks like this dude's fitting to jump.
Seems somewhat gaunt. It always made me feel a little nervous to see someone standing so close to the edge of the platform, even when it was a stranger, but I suspected he was just as anxious to get to his destination as I was. Midnight was close upon us, after all. He stood there, very still, and hadn't acknowledged my presence whatsoever until he slowly started turning his head towards me. With eyes wide open, he greeted me with a creepy grin and an unsettling stare.
That's not the
I made a
peekaboo
conscious
guy, right?
effort to ignore him staring at me like that, but then he employed a sinister laugh that gave me a persistent chill.
Oh my gosh.
Which was then followed by something that still horrifies me to this day.
He's going to jump. I feel it. God, I hate when I'm right.
Directly into the path of the arriving train, I rushed to try to save him, but it was too late. It took me a few seconds to grasp what I had just seen, and I was still in shock when I hurried to the nearest ticket booth to get help, which resulted in an entire shutdown of the subway.
Wow.
The subway employees inspected both the track and the train, but they didn't find any evidence of a body or even a single drop of blood.
What?
After checking the tunnels, their attention shifted to me, and the tone of the whole situation took a drastic turn for the worse. I implored them to check the cameras to prove that I wasn't lying, but when they reviewed the footage, there was no sign of the man, just me running towards an oncoming train.
Oh, dang. Now, is this some sort of psychological meltdown that the boy had? Or is this like him seeing a ghost? Paranormal? Either way, God, it's got to feel horrible. Like, at one point, you're overwhelmed with these emotions about someone actually losing their life in front of you. Next thing you know, you're being questioned by the authorities, and they're showing you footage of something that literally makes you look crazy. Was it all in your mind? Oh my gosh.
They told my parents what happened, and rumors spread very quickly after that. As a devoted Catholic, my mother never looked at me the same way again, and my father just put on a brave face. When that happened, the truth didn't really matter that much anymore, and life sort of carried on without ever really going back to normal.
Wow, man.
I left home the same year and moved into a shabby old apartment downtown. Needless to say, commuting around the city never felt quite the same after that.
No.
And I still find myself staring at the ceiling every night, contemplating the truth about what I witnessed that fateful day at the subway.
That weirdo again. And the laughing. Dang, that's creepy, man. I get the chills. Oh, God. It's not funny. Stop laughing. It's not funny.
Hey, folks. Thanks so much for watching until the end.
God dang it, man. Isn't that weird, dude? Oh, God. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Was it supernatural? You know, I almost want to say that that was some kind of psychological thing that happened to him. But I don't know. It's hard to tell. Anyway, guys, I really hope y'all enjoyed this one. This one was super creepy. Make sure to head over to Animated Horror Flicks and subscribe to him. awesome animation style and great storytelling, as well as subscribe to this channel if you like reactions like this, guys. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off, and we'll see you next time.